What is going on, y'all? This is Pay Me in Dividends, and today is January 27th, 2025. Now, I hope everybody is doing well. We're going to jump right into this, right? So my portfolio has not moved much, but it is pre-market, and the market is a bit red. So as of now, I'm at $91,908. If we scroll down here, we can see that my portfolio has not changed since the last video. I still have 1,000 shares of AIPI, 1,000 shares of MSTY, 200 shares of RDTE, and 200 shares of NVDY. Now let's take a quick look at the market. So it is pre-market where I'm at right now, and the VU is down, right? The S&P is down pre-market about 2%. And Bitcoin is down about 2% today, is hovering around that $100,000 mark. It did drop down a bit earlier today, and right now is hovering around $100,000. Now, there's a couple things I want to talk about. The first thing I want to get out the way is MicroStrategy, right? We're gonna get right into it. So MicroStrategy is down about 7% in the past 5 days. Pre-market today is down about 3%. Over the past month, it's still up 7%. Over the past 6 months, it's still up over 100%. But there's some news that has came out, right? MicroStrategy, let's see which one I want to go with. So MicroStrategy to redeem $1 billion in convertible notes amid concerns over Bitcoin tax rules. Now, this is where it gets complicated, right? This is where it gets very complicated, and it's kind of difficult to talk about because we don't really know what's going to happen. But the reality is, this is an act that was implemented back in 2022, right? So as we can see, this is the act that people are talking about, right? It is CMT implements a 15% minimum tax rate based on adjusted financial statement income. I don't want to get too deep into the verbiage and stuff, but basically what's going on is there's an act that was implemented in 2022 or proposed in 2022. And basically what it's saying is it wants to tax unrealized gains on large corporations. And so MicroStrategy is on the chopping block for paying their taxes, I believe in 2027, but they have got the notification now. And so what they're doing is they are redeeming convertible notes that they had already issued to big institutions. And so they want to redeem those notes in order to cover a tax bill that possibly could come in the future. Now, again, we don't know if it's going to happen. We don't know what's going to happen under this administration. But here's my take on it, right? Let's get right to it. Let's look at the biggest holders of Bitcoin in the world. This list is as of August 2024, but it hasn't changed much as far as the names. Of course, we have Satoshi at the top of the list. No one knows who it is. Some people have speculations. Who knows who it is? But that's the number one holder. It'll probably remain that way for a while. But if we look at the rest of these companies, right, we look at BlackRock, we look at Grayscale, we look at MicroStrategy, the U.S. government, right, Fidelity, Robinhood. Half of this list are American-based companies or American entities. I myself personally, this is a personal take, this is not financial advice, but I do not see an administration imposing unrealized taxes on unrealized gains on an asset that they own so much of. It just does not make sense to me. Maybe they will, maybe they won't, but it seems like they would kind of be shooting themselves in the foot, if you ask me. Again, half of the list of the largest Bitcoin holders in the world are American related. So I just don't see this happening. But again, it is something to keep in mind. And I think the biggest concern with people is, what is MicroStrategy going to do, right? Are they going to have to pay this large tax bill? How is it going to affect the price action of the stock? But again, we really don't know what's going to happen in the future. But what we do know is that MicroStrategy continues to double down on their purchases of Bitcoin, right? So as we can see, Michael Saylor tweeted this out, and he basically says Bitcoin has acquired more Bitcoin. And as of January 26th, which was just yesterday, they hold 471,000 Bitcoins at an average price of $64,000 per Bitcoin. So it seems like they're still doubling down on their strategy. And, again, there's a lot of headline news about, the company facing a potential, tax burden in the future. Again, this is something that it's kind of tricky because MicroStrategy, I believe, is getting a lot of heat or a lot of attention, but this is honestly something that's going to affect many, many companies, right? We can see that this was the inflation part of the Inflation Reduction Act of 2022, and MicroStrategy may be taxed 15% on those gains starting in 2026. So correction, I said 2027 earlier. It's actually 2026. But again, this is not just for them. This goes for any large institution, right? So we can see here on the official IRS website, we can see that the CAMT generally applies to large corporations with average annual financial statement income exceeding 1 billion. Now think about all the companies who exceed 1 billion in income annually. I mean, there's companies that we've never even heard of that generate this type of income on an annual basis. And another interesting thing to note is how many revisions and clarifications that the IRS has put out since this act was first put out there into the universe, right? It was put out in 2022. This is a revision that they put out in 2023, and I saw a couple other ones that were more recent as well. So I don't know. To me, it just seems like kind of like anything else with policies. There's not much clarification. The goalpost is always moving. And I just feel like the U.S. is not going to tax themselves on having a large Bitcoin holding, because that's pretty much what would happen, right? If their cost basis is at a certain point, which I'm sure they've made a lot of unrealized gains on this, I just don't see them taxing themselves or these other companies that they're invested in, right? Fidelity is one of the biggest brokerages, if not the biggest brokerage in America. We also have Robinhood that is up and coming. It's still a newer brokerage. It's been out for some years, but it is up and coming. But they do hold a lot of Bitcoin, right? We have MicroStrategy, of course. They hold a lot of Bitcoin. And again, this was posted on August of 2024, but it's just to give you a visual on how invested American entities are in Bitcoin. And I just cannot see them taxing unrealized gains on this. Now, if they do, they're going to have to pay their taxes, right? Just like every other company out there that's going to be affected by this. Now, hopefully, over the long term, Bitcoin continues to go up, which I do believe it will, right? If we look at the chart, we can see that Bitcoin is going to continue to go up, even if it does pull back down into the 60s or 70s or 80s at some point. I believe long term it will continue to go up. So basically, MicroStrategy is heavily correlated with Bitcoin because they hold so much of it on their balance sheet. Now, one thing about MicroStrategy, they don't generate much revenue as a company. They've really just become a Bitcoin reserve at this point. But again, if they play their cards right, it could work out for them. And in the meantime, MSTY is going to continue to print heavy dividends. Now, I want to talk about MSTY, right? Because a lot of people are fearful during these times, but I've spoke about this in other videos. These are the times where you want to load up on good assets. I'm not telling you to buy MSTY. I'm not telling you to buy any particular stock. But what I'm telling you is when there are headlines in the news, remember Facebook, right? In 2022, Facebook or Meta dipped down so much back in 2022 just because of bad news. And now it is back up and it is flourishing, and they're investing a bunch of money into AI. But, when Facebook dropped 30-40% back in 2022, a lot of people were saying, oh, this is the end of Facebook, this is the end of Meta, and they ended up recovering, and anybody who bought in on that dip made out very, very well. So again, I just want you guys to keep that in mind. If you zoom out and look at MSTY's chart, it's still up almost 30% within the past year, right? Now, we see that it can dip below $20, right? It's already touched that point. It's already been at $18, and it's also shot up to $46. So you be the judge, right? You look at the data, work with the information that is that is available to you, and make the best decision to be successful, right? Me personally, I'm going to continue to hold on my 1,000 shares of MSTY. Now, I want to do a little bit of math for you, right? So I have 1,000 shares of MSTY, and my cost basis is $32.41, right? So keep that number in mind, 32,410. It is now trading at, we'll say 27 bucks, right? So 27,000. So we'll take 32,410 minus 27,000, which means I'm down on paper about $5,000 in MSTY. However, I've held this stock since September of 2024. My first dividend payment was in October of 2024. So I've been paid October, November, December, and January. I looked through my brokerage account today to see how much dividends I've received, and I've received over $14,000 in dividends. So if you take the $14,000 in dividends that I've received and you subtract what I'm down on paper, I'm still up about $9,000. Now, if you divide that by my cost basis, which is 32,410, you can see that I've already made a 27% gain on MSTY. So I've already received a fourth of my money back in the matter of 4 months, October, November, December, January, because I bought in late September, so I did not receive that dividend payment. So within the past 4 months, I'm already up 27%. I've already received 27% of my money back. Now, I'm not saying that this is going to continue to perform like this going into the future, but what I am saying is, being an income investor, you have to always look at total returns. It's not always about, obviously you want to buy at a good price and you would like your capital to appreciate as you get dividends, but you have to take all money into consideration. So I always keep track of the dividends that I've received so that I get my true total return, which again, as of today, is around 27%, right? I've already received about 27% of my initial investment, which was about $32,000, right? Because my cost basis is around $32 a share, and I have 1,000 shares, so around $32,000, right? So you have to keep that in mind when you're investing into these stocks. I am an income investor, at least for this portfolio. Now, I still have my retirement accounts, like my 401k and my Roth IRA, and those are mostly just invested into S&P 500 index funds or mutual funds. But for my individual taxable brokerage account, this is a portfolio that I am trying to generate massive cash flow with. And the way you generate massive cash flow with these dividend ETFs is you buy ETFs where the underlying asset has a lot of volatility, right? Such as MicroStrategy, it has a lot of volatility. Also, NVDY has a lot of volatility. And so these are the type of investments you want to make if you want to generate massive cash flow on a monthly basis. Now, enough about MicroStrategy because there's been a lot of talk about it. Again, I don't think it's as big of a deal as people are making it. It's kind of old news if we're being honest, and it's not the only company that's going to be affected by this. So we'll see how it plays out. But again, for the time being, I'm holding on to my shares. I'm going to continue, taking these dividends and, just using them to pay down some margin. I actually have about around $10,000 in margin right now. So my equity is around 81 grand and I have about $10,000 in margin. I'm actually thinking about selling out of RDTE at some point as well, but we'll talk about that in another video because I really want to focus heavily on AIPI, MSTY, and NVDY, and possibly add something like a JEPQ or a SPY in the future just to give my portfolio a bit more stability. But again, we'll make that decision in a while. For now, I'm going to hold on to RDTE. But the next stock I want to talk about is NVIDIA, right? So NVIDIA falls 11% in pre-market, right? This actually came out today, this morning. And, here's the thing, right? So let's take a look at NVIDIA. So NVIDIA, let's see if we can get a chart on NVIDIA. So NVIDIA is down 12% pre-market. Look at that. It's down 12% pre-market. Now, here's the thing with NVIDIA, right? So China's DeepSeek triggers global tech sell-off, right? So U.S. tech firms plunged in pre-market trading as Chinese startup DeepSeek sparked concerns over competitiveness in AI and America's lead in the sector, triggering a global sell-off. Again, I don't know if maybe I've been investing now for about 5 years, and I kind of jumped in right before the pandemic hit. So I think my stomach has kind of became callous to this, or I've kind of become a little numb to it. But I don't really get afraid when the market gets red. I see it as an opportunity. Some people may get afraid, some people may sell out, but I have a very, very long-term mindset when it comes to investing in general. I'm consider myself a lifelong investor. I don't think there's going to be a point in time where I never don't invest. So for me, I see these as opportunities, right? So if you want to get into NVIDIA or NVDY from YieldMax, this may be an opportunity for you, right? This may be an opportunity to start your position or dollar cost average or even average down if your cost basis is higher than $23. So again, I just see these things as opportunities. Some people get afraid. I see it as opportunities. So I don't want to talk too much about this again because I've seen other people cover it already. It's all over the headlines. We're going to see how things play out. One thing we can't predict is price movement, right? We don't know if NVIDIA is going to continue to go up. We don't know if MicroStrategy is going to continue to go up. Bitcoin is very volatile. As we know, it can plummet or it can skyrocket at any point in time. If you just see these charts, right? If you just look over the last month, you can see all of these ebbs and flows, right? So Bitcoin is always going to be volatile. That is just the nature of this asset. But again, it works out well for income investors who are playing off of this volatility because you're able to extract so much premium from the option market and get paid in the form of a dividend. So I think that is pretty much it for this video. Again, I just wanted to show you guys that my dividends have already paid me back about 27% of my initial invested principal. And so again, I'm not too concerned. I'm actually kind of excited to see what happens here in the future. And hopefully these companies can continue to play off of the volatility of these assets so that they can generate massive dividends, and then we can take those dividends, we can reinvest them, we can diversify our portfolio and continue to build a cash cow, right? So this month, or let's say the month of February, I'm predicted to make a little over 4,000. I know this says January income, and we're going to cover that, but in the next video, probably once AIPI pays out their dividend. But you know, this has been pretty consistent for me. So again, I'm interested to see where this goes, and I'm going to continue to hold these assets. Again, the only one that I'm planning on selling off at some point in the very near future is RDTE, just because I feel like it doesn't fit in my portfolio. And I would like to add something a bit more stable in the future. But again, we'll get to that when we get to that. But, you know, yeah, you guys let me know in the comments. What do you guys think about MSTY? What's your thoughts on MSTY? What's your thoughts on NVDY, NVIDIA, MicroStrategy, this whole debacle, all the headlines, people, you know, possibly getting taxed on unrealized gains. This is going to affect so many companies. I just don't see it happening. But again, if it happens, it happens. We'll see. I feel like the states will just continue to print money, or they won't. Who knows? But let's see how it plays out. It'll be interesting. But we are at 952 subscribers now. I just want to thank every single one of you who has subscribed to the channel. It has been very, very fun making these videos. I'm trying to continue to be creative as possible as I can. I know stocks and finance in general can be a bit boring, but if you're interested in income investing, if you're interested in high yield ETFs, you know, consider subscribing. Let me know in the comments. What do you think? What's your favorite ETF right now that you're buying? What are you dollar cost averaging into? And yeah, just let me know in the comments, guys, how you feel about it. So as always, I appreciate you guys stopping by the channel, and I will catch y'all in the next video.